Now, gender equality's advocate Nthabiseng Sepanya-Mogale joins us for a bit of a chat on this one then. Advocate, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it as well then this morning. I know you're still looking into getting this investigation done into what actually went wrong, the worrisome gaps perhaps we find in our justice system. But wanted to get your immediate thoughts, if possible, please. Just with regards to the trial as it stood, the Timothy Omotoso alleged rape trial, of course, then, and the most concerning gaps that you've already seen when it comes to our justice system here, as it relates to GBV and femicide.
The most glaring concerns we have is just the poor quality of outputs by the different duty bearers in the ecosystem of GBV and F. You know, right from your police officers, right up to the decisions that the parole board relies on to give people parole. And when I say that, I'm including police officers, investigators who are, by the way, trying extremely hard, I must say. Those are our sung heroes. Over and above that, the prosecutors, and it's not every prosecutor. Again, a lot of them are overwhelmed with the workload. And then you get to the situation where the collection, management, repackaging, and presentation of evidence is also in most cases compromised. And then the incarceration, conviction and incarceration, where that is proven, but also the effectiveness of incarceration to ensure that people are rehabilitated. That is also a challenge.
So it's not a funding issue then, right? Is it then ultimately just a law practicing issue primarily? But you said overwhelmed as well then with the workload. So does it actually mean that you need more people ultimately in trying to get this right?
Yes, it's a bit of both. It's not an either or. There is the limited training, there is poor commitment from our civil servants, but there is also the limited funding for people not to be able to recruit. If you can remember, during the 6th administration, the former Minister of Police actually tried by all means to recruit annually, but they could only recruit up to so far and spread the new recruits nationally to beef up their outputs as police officers. So it can only be done up to a certain level because one has to look at the funding available for them to be able to be efficient. But also even the training is found wanting. When a police officer, at the point of one reporting a suspected crime, actually says, you don't have to report, don't worry, this is a family matter, go and resolve it at home. There's something wrong there because formally they do not have that authority and jurisdiction to determine what and what is not a crime. Only a prosecutor can do that. So even that, you can see that there's a lot of informality, there's a lot of authority that people give themselves, there's a lot of authority that people don't know that they have, or they're just very casual about their job. So this whole issue of professionalization of public service is very, very critical, and more critical than ever before.
So what would declaring gender-based violence and femicide a national disaster, what would that change, do you think?
It wouldn't change much. The president has pronounced on so many levels that it actually is our second pandemic after COVID. But again, the levels, in terms of sheer incidents, the levels in terms of magnitude of how people are being killed, how people are raped, children, 1-year-old children being raped, 80-year-old gogos being raped, just that the magnitude and the manifestation of it is such that South African society is dealing with it as a national disaster already. We, the people who are out there, who are expecting to get services, are terrified and see this as a national disaster. And I think to a large extent, so does government. However, the individuals, duty bearers, tend to see what they're supposed to do in response to this national disaster as just but a job. And there lies the problem.
It certainly feels as big a problem as well. In your opinion then, Advocate, do you think that heads should roll when it comes to the failures that were pronounced by the judge when it comes to the Timothy Omotoso alleged rape trial?
Yes, but that should not end there. It should be what went wrong. If there is a clear wrongdoing that was malicious and malafide, definitely heads should roll. But if it's a systems failure, that's where the focus should be, to say our system is crumbling under our feet. We are not coping. What can we do? And this is why we actually thought, let's have this formal inquiry so that we introspect and inspect the system fully and get evidence so that we are able to give recommendations and advice to those who have got the responsibility to ensure that it works. So it's not about heads rolling only. Heads rolling is usually, intended for an individual. Yes, if an individual has done something wrong maliciously, that has got to be dealt with. But where it is a systems failure, that cannot be ignored in return for one person being sacrificed. Advocate, the system has failed once too many.
Yeah, Advocate, I've only got a couple of seconds left, unfortunately, but I want to ask you, what about the legal definition then of rape in particular? Does that need to be expanded? Particularly because it currently seems to be inadequate in recognizing, and I quote, intimidation, coercion, fraud, even unequal power dynamics, which do exist. Should we be expanding our definition legally?
No, our definition is solid. Our definition talks about rape. It has removed the issue of men raping a woman. It has now included using instruments to rape you. It has now included a cost to rape. So a third party can actually be charged. But when you go and look at the definition of what trafficking is, that is where our prosecution failed us. Trafficking's definition is also very broad. It talks about fraudulently enticing people. It talks about playing to their vulnerabilities, which is a classic example in this case. It is wide. Our legislation is almost 99% intact. We've done that. It's the application and implementation.
Yeah. Very, very important conversation here. I look forward to actually reading just the report that comes out, and hopefully we can find solutions, break the mold, and ultimately do better when it comes to gender-based violence and femicide. Advocate, thank you so much for joining us. Advocate Nthabiseng Sepanya-Mogale is from the Center, then, or rather the Commission for Gender Equality, then, having joined us for that conversation.